Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Mind of Cy Marie. Today, I'm excited to be joined by a guest whose work is all about guiding people to live their best, most authentic lives. Susan Burrell is the author of Live Your Empowered Life, a 30-day journey, a powerful guide that has helped countless individuals transform their mindset and embrace their potential. She is also the host of Empowering Chats, a podcast where she continues to inspire with thoughtful conversations on personal growth and self-discovery. Susan, it is a pleasure to have you here today. Welcome to the show. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Uh, I just want to let everybody know that I am an intuitive healer, and I also have channeled guided meditations on Insight Timer. I think that they're really helpful for people for what's going on right now in the world, just to kind of tune in and tune up. Yeah, so I'm curious how this is going to unfold.
Awesome. Well, I like to let everybody kind of have their own little introduction moment to put it in their own words. So, your book, Live Your Empowered Life, a 30-day journey, has been a beacon of hope for so many. What inspired you to create this 30-day guide, and what do you hope readers will gain from it?
Well, what inspired me was my own trauma, drama, and healing, because the book has all sorts of skill sets embedded in it that help people eventually build some sort of a spiritual practice that helps remind them daily, if used, that they are an empowered being, a being of light. And it came out of all the different things I did when I was going through a very traumatic divorce after 28 years of marriage, and all these skill sets that I developed because I've been what I call a spiritual quester all my life. And so I had been meditating and journaling and using affirmations and all sorts of other stuff. But when I went through this really dramatic shift in my life, all those skill sets I found were necessary. So that's why I built the book. I felt like you don't have to go through a trauma to do the book, but it's helpful if you are at a crossroads in your life and wondering who you are, what you're doing next. Lots of women go through those crossroads several times, in terms of if you're married and getting divorced, or if you've had children and they leave the nest, or if you're a working woman and you're changing jobs, or going through menopause. Those crossroads just show up.
So, your work seems to focus on practical and actionable steps. Can you walk us through one simple exercise from your book that listeners can do today to start shifting their mindset?
Absolutely. So the book is built on what I was hoping would be a 30-day practice, but people that have done the book find that it takes them sometimes 45 days because they can't quite do it every day. But so the first thing I encourage people to do, whether you're doing the book or you're a client, is to journal the muck. Get the garbage out of your head, because we all have stories that we run and eventually they run on a loop. And if you don't dump that stuff out, you don't have an empty container to fill in with what you really want. And so the first actionable step would be to start a journaling practice, but not to say, here's what I did today, but to say, oh my gosh, I can't handle what's happening. Here's why. Or I don't know who I am. What am I doing here? Who am I? Which is a big question I encourage people to ask. Who am I now? We change so much during the course of a lifetime. So journaling to get the muck out of your head, and therefore your body, helps shift the energy that you may be holding that you don't know you're holding. And then there's a bunch of other actionable steps throughout. I have affirmations that I wrote during this divorce that I worked, so I know that they work. I have journaling prompts built on the word empower, and I also have what I feel are actually divinely inspired quotes from people I admire to help kind of stimulate the brain into thinking, same with the affirmations, into beginning to focus on a higher level or a better life or where you want to head next. So there's all sorts of stuff. It is actually, I didn't realize when I was putting it all together, but it's actually a workbook. It's not a book you get to read and go, oh, here's a kernel of truth I like. I'm going to practice that. No, it's a daily, every day is a practice. And I built it so that by the end of the book, you come out with a life purpose, you have more acumen in terms of how you want to live your life, and you know who you are in this moment. Again, because we change all the time.
That's really awesome. Sounds very intentionally based. You're also the host of Empowering Chats. What has been the most rewarding part of those conversations and the overarching message you aim to share with your audience through that platform?
Well, for me, the most rewarding thing, and I think people that listen will understand that, is I'm a perpetual student. And so people I have on that I interview, I have them on because they have something to tell me. They have something that I'm going to learn from them. So I've talked to people that have done past life regressions, people that channel, people that understand cosmic astrology, which is different from regular astrology, evidently, but also people that have had interesting life experiences that are inspiring. So every time I interview someone, I learn so much. It is for hopefully to inspire others to see that kind of as I do, you can do. As we learn, we can learn. And the intention behind it is to elevate consciousness, is to lead people into recognizing that we are one. And as we elevate and grow our consciousness, we connect to each other even more, which is part of my life mission.
That's definitely on the wavelength with what I'm trying to do here on the Mind Assignment. So, for someone who feels stuck or disempowered, what is the single most important piece of advice you would offer to help them begin their journey toward an empowered life?
That's an interesting question. What comes up for me first, what I heard very loudly, is there isn't one size fits all. So there isn't one single thing I could advise that will bring someone into empowerment, because we're all unique individuations of source energy. So what works for one person may not work for the other person. I think the biggest thing for beginning to develop an empowered life, which to me is more elevated than an authentic life, because you have to be authentic to live, but to be empowered, you really have to embody that authenticity, that transparency. So I think the most important thing is to be willing to grow. My show is focused on, this year, we have a yearly theme. This year is soul growth. And that's because what's occurring on the planet right now is happening so our souls can evolve and grow. And those of us that are on the planet right now chose to be here. We chose to be here for this very horrible, awful, wonderful, happy, I don't know, put a label on it, thing that's going on in the world, so that our soul can achieve the evolution that we came in contracted to do. And so as we open to being willing to grow and change and release our resistance to the growth and change, then we can develop a consciousness that not only helps us to live an empowered life, but raises the planet, raises all of humanity. Because I really believe we are all connected. We are all connected because there's only one infinite, I don't even know what you call it. You can put your own label on it, that is living by means of us and growing by means of us. And if you're not growing, you're not thriving. That's really what I think.
I can agree with that last statement completely. In your experience, how does sharing your own journey of personal growth help others on their path toward empowerment?
So I've lived a certain amount of years, and what I've found is the more authentic, the more transparent, the more vulnerable I allow myself to be, the more relatable I can be, and the more people get what I'm teaching and are able to apply it. Yeah, I think I just really try to be me. And this is actually, just in the last, I don't know, 15 years of me actually recognizing that it's okay to be me and to be me fully out, meaning speaking my truth, igniting light leaders, which I was called to do during pandemic, learning how to navigate the higher dimensions. We're in an ascension process that's very intense right now. And it's not about moving from one place to the other. I used to think ascension was I'm going up, but it's really, while you're going up, it's your consciousness that's going up. It's your growth that's elevating while we are still embodied in the human experience here on planet Earth in the 3D time frame. And right now is just a really intense time to pay attention to being aware of our consciousness. So I really try to be me. I say stuff that some people may not like, but I've just discovered through the course of my own personal growth that it's important to speak your truth.
I agree with that. So, switching gears just a little bit, you've been a featured guest on several platforms. How does being a guest differ from being the one guiding the conversation, and what have you learned from those experiences?
So when I'm interviewing people, I interview from a place of curiosity and learning. Like I said at the beginning, I am wanting to learn more of what I don't know, or find more tools that I can apply. When I'm being interviewed, again, I just open up to source and allow myself to be me, allow myself to speak truth. And oftentimes stuff that comes out of my mouth, I'm like, wow, I didn't realize I was going to say that, but I did. So when I'm interviewed, I allow myself the freedom to be honest, stand in integrity, and speak truth for those with ears to hear. And I find afterwards, I never remember what I said, ever. I have clients from years ago that come up to me and say, when you said that thing to me, I mean, I really understood it, and I applied it and I changed. And I'm like, I'm so happy. And I don't remember what I said. So in a way, it's kind of, like I mentioned earlier, I channel guided meditations. When I'm being interviewed, it's kind of like that. I just allow what needs to be heard through me.
Makes sense. So, beyond your book and podcast, are there any other tools or practices that you find essential for maintaining a positive and empowered mindset?
Yeah, one of the things I do, and it's in the book, but I use it in all my classes, it's actually become a joke, is mind mapping. And mind mapping, I discovered years ago when I was getting my master's in consciousness, and I found it invaluable because mind mapping is not a linear practice. It helps you to kind of target what you want to investigate. You don't create an outline. Allow your mind to say this and this and this and this until you are clear on what it is you are looking for or what the answer is. So I use that in all my classes, and the reason why it's a joke is I tell everybody pull out a blank piece of paper, and they know a mind map is coming for them to investigate something deeper that if you're just sitting and asking yourself questions, you may not uncover. But when you do this nonlinear practice, you find different ahas, like mind mapping about money. If I had more money, well, what would that mean to you? Well, it would mean I could buy a house. Well, what would that mean to you? It would mean I'm safe. It would mean, you know, having more money would mean I would have freedom. What does that mean to you? To travel. Oh, what does that mean to you? So I can explore the world. What does that mean to you? So I can learn. So yeah, mind mapping, I love it. That is actually my go-to practice for myself especially when I'm in a transition. But that is a really good, if you're not journaling, mind mapping is a good way to kind of investigate whatever the problem is, or the stuck place, or the crux you're at, something like that.
That sounds like a very useful practice. Definitely interesting. Thank you for sharing that one. So, who are some people or voices that have most inspired your own work and philosophy on empowerment?
Ernest Holmes. He's actually become one of my spirit guides because he crossed over in 1960. Desmond Tutu, because he talks about Ubuntu, which is that we're really all connected, and how I live my life affects you. Other voices. Greg Braden, Joe Dispenza. Let me think. Recent voices. Oh, Penny Pierce. If you haven't talked to Penny Pierce or read any of her books, she is a clarified consciousness now. She's written a book that is in its fifth edition called Frequency, and then she has another book called Transparency. And if you're looking for authenticity, Penny is the lady. She really, really is able to cut through the stuff. And she does. She lives a transparent life. She's inspiring to me.
So, in doing this, what have you found to be a common misconception about living an empowered life that you often encounter and would like to clarify?
Oh my God, another good question. Common misconception about living an empowered life. Well, I'm not sure if this is the right thing, but I'm going to say it. I think we come from okay, Western people come from a culture that if I get the right answer, then I'm done. If I pass a test, I'm done. But it's not a one and done. It's an ongoing evolution. And so that's what living an empowered life is to continue to evolve, release your resistance to life's challenges, which is challenging, and then also to investigate the question that I ask myself often, who am I now? I think a lot of people stop at one thing. Maybe or what they do, they used to, I don't know if everybody's still doing it now, but they used to what I call appetizer hop. Oh, I'll try this person, this guru, oh, I've had a couple appetizers there, but I'm not satisfied. I didn't have a meal, so I'm going to hop over here. And so people do a lot of hopping around trying to find themselves as opposed to going within themselves, because we all have the answers. We really, really do. Sometimes it takes a really rough life challenge like divorce or an illness or a death to wake us up to go, oh, wait a minute, I have to be with me. I want to be with me. And let me ask myself, because again, if you ask yourself and you listen deeply, yourself, which is your higher self, already has those answers and solutions. So the misconception is you got to find the answer outside of yourself, and that's not true.
So, you would say people really need to learn it's more about the constant application of introspection.
Yes, and it's an inside job.
Yeah. So, in today's fast paced world, what do you see as the biggest challenge to personal empowerment and how can we overcome it?
The biggest challenge is, again, looking outside of yourself and expecting that things are going to change. Things are changing, but we can't control it. The thing that needs to happen, excuse me, I'm sneezing, sorry. The thing that is the best in all our best interests is to go within, like I said earlier. Stop listening to the news. Stop watching the reels that people send off of, can you believe this is happening? Really embed yourself in things that make you happy. If you're watching something, make it something that makes you happy. If you're out in nature, make it a place that makes you happy. If you're hanging out with people, make sure it's people that help you to feel happy. Not engage. Don't engage, please. Please, please, everybody, we need to stop engaging in the conversation of what's wrong. Because while we may feel the outer world, there's a lot wrong, the more we get together in groups to discuss what's wrong, the more we perpetuate the experience. And perpetuate means an ongoing experience of. So it never ends. So if we can back off of getting together to collude, I would say, to talk about what's wrong and what needs to change, and go to a different vibration, if you will, of talking about things that make you happy, the sooner the outer world will begin to reflect that. Do you get this?
That makes sense. So, what projects or topics are you currently working on or exploring that you're especially excited about?
Well, I am personally at a crossroads and I'm looking to see what it is I need to let go of, which, by the way, everybody, we are all at a crossroads right now, energetically, of what do I absolutely need to let go of and let go of it because it's a karmic thing. Pay attention to this. So that is what I'm doing. I'm looking at where are the karmic lessons that I actually have learned, but I keep trying to repeat, but I've learned them and let that go. I'm investigating what's next for me. How do I shift from what I've been doing for the last 15 years to what I'm being called to do next? So I'm really kind of in a place of listening right now. What is mine to do next besides continue to ignite light leaders? So yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I have some projects, but I can't really speak them out yet because I don't want that energy to release.
Well, I was going to ask if you had any next book endeavors that go along with your 30-day workbook or any next ventures there.
Well, I do have a book that's been simmering for 3 years, and my publicist has been oh so patient with me. It doesn't necessarily go with live your empowered life, but of course it does because it's all about self-empowerment. So that is one of my intentions for the next season of my life is to complete that book. But I'm not going to tell you the title until it's done. When it's done, we'll let you know.
Well, I'm going to have the description to your podcast or your website so that listeners can go and see that in the description when I publish this. So people can find out and keep up with what you're doing next from there and get updates directly from you. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us quickly?
Yes, since people might be going to my website, and thank you so much for that, I appreciate it. One of the other things I'm doing, besides channeling guided meditations that you can access through my website, that they're housed on Insight Timer, is I have been called to do ancestral clearing. And I've been working on that for myself with my ancestry. And I'm finding it so timely and powerful now, especially with what's happening in the world, to clear our ancestors of their burdens that they've been carrying and passing down, which actually perpetuates what we're seeing in the world now. They're ready to let go.
That is something that really intrigues me because a little off topic, but on my own ancestry, I've mixed native and I've got a ancestor on the native side that actually was a plantation slave owner, and I found out that there are slave ancestors from Africa that we never knew about. I was the first person to do all of the genetic tracing to go far that back to find her.
Mm-hmm.
And I've really just been trying to work on, bringing that to surface, that hidden, buried knowledge that was at the root of this tree that nobody knew, because I had white passing ancestors in the South that took advantage of that in order to be able to survive and assimilated. And a lot of people have different feelings about that. But being someone who's very highly intuitive as well, Susan, I really appreciate that you're stepping into doing that. And that calling is very, very crucial right now. So thank you for bringing that to the surface at the end of the conversation here, but
We
definitely,
should have started with that, maybe next time.
yes, I would definitely love to talk to you again, and I will definitely be linking your website so we can keep up with what you're doing next there, because that's very important work. I'm very enthusiastic about hearing what you got next on that.
Awesome.
All right. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. Your insights are truly inspiring. And for our listeners who want to connect with Susan and where they can find her book and podcast, again, that will be in the description. And I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to come and talk to me today.
It is an honor. Thank you for inviting me.
Perfect. Well, you have a great afternoon, and to the rest of you, stay tuned to see what we got going on next on the Mind of Cy Marie.